You ever notice how people get loud when they feel small? Yeah, that's what's happening here. They're not fighting because of you. They're fighting because of what you represent. Pressure, comparison, exposure. You walked into the room without saying a word, and suddenly their confidence started shaking like a house built on lies. See, when someone knows they can't match you, they don't try to rise, they try to drag everything down to their level. And when that doesn't work, that's when the chaos begins. Voices get sharper, egos get fragile. And now it's not even about winning anymore. It's about not looking weak in front of you. They feel embarrassed, not because you did anything wrong, but because your existence highlights everything they're not. Every shortcut they took, every excuse they made, every time they chose comfort over growth. So now they clash, not with you but with each other. Blaming, shouting, tearing things apart, just to distract themselves from one brutal truth. They see you, and they know they're not on your level, and that kind of realization, it doesn't create peace, it creates explosions. You hear that noise, don't you? It's never random, never meaningless. People don't just get loud for no reason. They get loud when something inside them starts breaking. And what you're hearing right now, that's not confidence. That's not strength. That's insecurity screaming for survival. Because real power doesn't need volume. Real confidence doesn't shake rooms. It doesn't beg for attention, doesn't throw tantrums, doesn't try to prove itself every 5 seconds. It just exists calm, steady, unbothered. But insecurity? Oh, insecurity is desperate. It needs validation like air. It needs to be seen, heard, noticed, even if it has to tear everything apart to get there. And then you show up. You don't even have to say anything. That's the funny part. You could just stand there, minding your own business, focused, disciplined, locked into your own path, and suddenly the atmosphere changes. People start acting different. Conversations shift. Tension creeps in like a silent alarm going off in their heads. Because your presence forces a comparison they weren't ready for. Now they start looking at themselves through a lens they've been avoiding. They see the gaps, the laziness, the shortcuts, the excuses, and it stings. It really does. Not because you pointed it out, but because they can't ignore it anymore. And when people feel exposed like that, they don't get quiet, they get loud. They start talking more than usual, defending things nobody questioned, arguing over small things like it's life or death, trying to dominate conversations, interrupt, over-explain, overreact. It's like watching someone try to cover a crack in the wall with noise, hoping nobody notices the damage underneath. But the louder they get, the more obvious it becomes. See, insecurity doesn't know how to stay hidden when it's threatened. It panics. It scrambles. It looks for distractions. It creates chaos just to avoid facing the truth. And that truth is simple. They don't feel enough. Not around you. So the noise keeps building. Little comments turn into arguments. Small disagreements turn into full-blown conflicts. Energy gets tense. People start picking sides over things that don't even matter. And all of it traces back to one thing. They're trying to drown out that uncomfortable feeling you triggered without even trying. Because silence would force them to think, and thinking would force them to face themselves. So they choose noise instead. They'd rather be loud and wrong than quiet and honest. They'd rather argue than reflect. They'd rather create drama than admit they feel small. And the more they try to hide it, the uglier it gets. The reactions become exaggerated. The emotions become unstable. And what could have been a moment of growth turns into a spectacle of insecurity on display. And you just stand there, watching it unfold, knowing exactly what it is without anyone having to explain it to you. You don't even have to try. And that's what bothers them the most. It's not something you say. Not something you show off. It's something you are. And the moment you step into their space, something shifts inside them. Quietly at first, almost unnoticeable. A glance, A pause, a subtle change in tone. Like something in their mind just woke up and started asking questions they don't want to answer. Comparison. It creeps in fast. Faster than they can control it. 1 second they're comfortable, confident, relaxed in their own little world, and the next, they're measuring, calculating, watching you without trying to look like they're watching you, trying to figure out where they stand next to you. And that's where it starts to hurt, because comparison doesn't lie the way people do. It doesn't sugarcoat. It doesn't protect feelings. It just reflects reality in the rawest way possible. And when they look at you, they don't just see you. They see everything they've been avoiding in themselves. Your discipline reminds them of their inconsistency. Your focus exposes their distractions. Your growth highlights their stagnation. Your calmness makes their chaos look even louder. You become a mirror. And not everyone likes what they see in reflections. So now they're uncomfortable. Not because you attacked them. Not because you disrespected them. But because your existence is forcing a level of awareness they never asked for. It's like you walked into the room carrying truth, and now they can't pretend anymore. And here's the twist, they don't want to rise to meet that standard. That would take effort. That would take honesty. That would mean admitting they've been settling, making excuses, wasting time. That kind of self-awareness, it's heavy. It demands change. It demands responsibility. And most people, they'd rather avoid that weight. So instead of elevating themselves, they try to adjust the narrative. They start downplaying what you do, acting like it's not a big deal, like it's luck, like it's timing, like it's something anyone could do if they felt like it. They laugh it off, brush it aside, make little comments disguised as jokes. Anything to shrink what they're seeing, so they don't have to confront why it bothers them so much. But deep down, they know. They know it's not luck. They know it's not random. They know there's something different about you. Something they don't have or haven't built yet. And that realization, it scratches at their ego in a way they can't ignore. So the comparison keeps running in the background. Every move you make, every decision, every moment you stay composed when they would have reacted, it adds fuel to that silent tension building inside them. They start questioning themselves more, doubting more, watching more, thinking more than they should. It becomes exhausting, trying to keep up with an image in their head that you're not even trying to project. And the worst part, you're not even competing. That's what makes it unbearable for them. You're not looking at them the way they're looking at you. You're not measuring. You're not comparing. You're not adjusting your behavior based on what they do. You're just moving focused on your own direction, your own growth, your own path. But they can't do the same. Because once comparison enters the mind, it doesn't leave quietly. It lingers, it repeats, it builds pressure. And eventually, that pressure needs somewhere to go. And that's when things start to crack. You ever watch someone pretend they're in control, while everything about them says otherwise? That's the beauty of a weak ego. It doesn't just break, it performs before it does. See, strength is quiet. It doesn't need a stage, doesn't need an audience, doesn't need constant reassurance that it matters. It just stands there, solid, unmoved. But a weak ego, that thing is fragile. It's built on image, not substance. And the moment that image feels threatened, it starts to crack in the loudest, messiest way possible. And you don't even have to touch it. Your presence alone is enough. The way you carry yourself, the way you don't react, the way you don't chase attention or validation, it creates pressure. Invisible, but heavy. And weak egos, they can't handle pressure. Not the kind that exposes them. So they compensate. They start acting bigger than they are, louder than they need to be. Every word becomes exaggerated, every reaction slightly overdone, like they're trying to convince the world and themselves that they're still in control. But it's not convincing, it's desperate. Because deep down, they feel it slipping. They feel that quiet shift inside them. That moment where confidence turns into doubt. Where certainty starts asking questions. And instead of facing it, they resist it. Hard. That's when chaos begins. Arguments out of nowhere. Attitudes that don't match the situation. Small things turning into big reactions. It's never about what's happening on the surface. It's about what's collapsing underneath. Their ego is trying to protect itself, trying to hold together an identity that was never strong to begin with. And the more it struggles, the uglier it gets. They interrupt more, talk over people, try to dominate conversations that don't even require dominance. They push their opinions harder, defend themselves before anyone attacks, react to things that weren't even directed at them. It's like watching someone shadowbox with threats that only exist in their own head. Because to them, everything feels like a threat now. Not because you're doing anything aggressive, but because your calm exposes their instability. Your silence makes their noise feel unnecessary. Your control highlights their lack of it. And that contrast, it shakes them, so they create chaos to level the field. If things are calm, your presence stands out too much. It's too obvious, too uncomfortable. But if everything becomes loud, messy, unpredictable, then your composure gets buried in the confusion. Now it's not about who's steady anymore. It's about who can survive the chaos they just created. And they think that gives them control. But it doesn't. It just reveals more. Because chaos isn't power, it's a reaction. It's what happens when someone loses control, but refuses to admit it. It's the ego's last defense mechanism. If I can't dominate through strength, I'll disrupt everything until nobody notices the weakness. And for a moment, it works. People get distracted. Energy shifts. Attention moves away from the real issue. But underneath it all, that same insecurity is still there, still growing, still eating away at whatever confidence they thought they had. Because you're still there, unmoved, unbothered, not feeding into it, not reacting, not playing along. And that's the part they can't stand the most, because no matter how much chaos they create, they can't shake you. They think it's a race. That's the first mistake. See, the moment they notice you, something flips in their head. It stops being about their own path, their own pace, their own progress, and suddenly it's about beating you. Catching up to you. Proving they're better than you. Like life handed them a scoreboard the second you walked in. But here's the part they don't understand. You never picked up the pen. You're not writing your name next to theirs. You're not checking where they stand. You're not even looking in their direction. While they're busy measuring distance, you're just moving forward, step by step. Quiet, consistent, focused. No noise, no announcements, no need to prove anything, and that drives them insane. Because competition needs two sides. It needs engagement. It needs reaction. It needs you to care. But you don't. You're not speeding up because of them, not slowing down because of them, not adjusting your path to match theirs. You're operating on a different frequency entirely, and they can't tune into it. So they try harder. They start pushing themselves, but not for the right reasons, not for growth, not for purpose, but for validation. Every move becomes calculated around you. Every decision filtered through one question. Is this enough to beat them? And that kind of thinking, it burns people out. Because when you compete with someone else, your energy is divided. Half of it goes into improving, the other half goes into watching, comparing, stressing, reacting. It's unstable, inconsistent. One day they feel ahead, the next day they feel behind. Their motivation rises and falls based on what they think you're doing. Meanwhile, you're steady. You're not chasing a person. You're chasing a standard. A version of yourself that doesn't depend on anyone else's pace. And that's the difference they can't grasp. You're evolving. They're competing. And evolving is internal. It's quiet. It's disciplined. It doesn't need witnesses. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't even need recognition. It just happens over time, through consistency, through focus, through showing up even when nobody's watching. But competition is loud. It needs attention. It needs comparison. It feeds on external validation. And when it doesn't get that, it starts to crack. Because they're not actually building themselves. They're building an image. Something that looks strong from the outside, but has no foundation underneath. And the moment that image gets challenged, the pressure hits hard. They start forcing things, rushing progress, trying to skip steps just to keep up with a pace they don't understand. They lose patience, lose clarity, lose direction. And all of it comes from one simple truth. They're trying to beat someone who isn't even playing their game. And that's what breaks them. Because no matter how fast they run, no matter how loud they get, no matter how hard they try to outdo you, they can't win a race that doesn't exist for you. You're not reacting to them, not acknowledging them, not giving them anything to measure against. And without that, their whole sense of competition starts to feel empty, pointless, like they've been running in circles while you've been moving forward the entire time. And the more they realize that, the heavier it feels. Because deep down, they know they've been wasting energy trying to prove something to someone who never needed proof. And that kind of realization, it hits harder than losing ever could. It doesn't start as anger. That's the illusion. At first, it's subtle. A small sting they can't quite explain. A feeling they try to brush off like it's nothing. Maybe a forced smile, maybe a careless comment, maybe a laugh that lingers just a little too long. They tell themselves it doesn't matter, that you don't matter, that none of this gets to them. But it does. Because embarrassment is quiet at the beginning. It doesn't explode right away. It sits there, under the surface, building pressure. Every time they notice you doing something right, every time they realize they can't match your consistency, every time they see you stay composed where they would have lost control, it adds another layer, and they feel it. That uncomfortable awareness creeping in. That voice in their head getting louder, asking questions they don't want to answer. Why can't I do that? Why am I not there yet? What am I missing? And the worst one of all, what if I'm just not enough? That question, it cuts deep, because now it's not about you anymore. It's about them. Their effort. Their discipline. Their choices. Everything they've been avoiding suddenly feels exposed, like a spotlight they can't turn off. And embarrassment starts turning into something heavier. Frustration. They get irritated more easily. Small things start bothering them. Your success feels louder. Your presence feels heavier. Even your silence starts to annoy them, like it's saying something without actually speaking. And they don't know how to process it. Because admitting embarrassment would mean admitting weakness, and they can't do that. So instead it shifts. The frustration starts looking for an outlet, somewhere to go, someone to blame, and that's when it begins to twist into aggression. Not always obvious at first, sometimes it's passive. A sarcastic remark, a dismissive tone, a subtle attempt to undermine what you're doing. But it doesn't stay subtle for long, because the feeling keeps building. Every comparison they make, every moment they feel like they fall short, every time they try to ignore it and fail, it adds fuel. And eventually, that fuel needs a spark. Something small, something insignificant. And suddenly, it's not small anymore. Now it's loud. Now it's emotional. Now it's exaggerated reactions to things that don't even deserve attention. Arguments that come out of nowhere. Energy that feels off, heavy, unstable. And if you look closely, it's never really about the situation in front of you. It's about everything they've been holding in. The embarrassment they refuse to acknowledge. The insecurity they tried to hide. The frustration they didn't know how to process. It all comes out at once, messy, uncontrolled, impossible to contain. And they might even try to direct it at you. Not because you caused it, but because you triggered it. You became the symbol of everything they're struggling with internally. So in their mind, if they can push against you, argue with you, bring you down somehow, maybe that feeling will go away. But it doesn't, because the source was never external. It was always inside them. And no matter how loud they get, no matter how aggressive they become, no matter how much they try to project it outward, that same embarrassment is still there, sitting underneath all the noise, waiting to be faced. But they'd rather fight than feel it. You'd think it would be directed at you. That would make sense, right? You're the one triggering it. You're the one exposing the cracks without even trying. So logically, you'd be the target. But that's not how it plays out. Because going straight at you would require something they don't have: clarity. It would mean admitting, even for a second, that you're the reason they feel this way. And that kind of honesty, it's dangerous for someone already struggling to hold their ego together. So they avoid it. They circle around it. Redirect it. Push it somewhere safer, somewhere easier to handle. And that's usually each other. Now the tension spreads. What started as something internal becomes external, but not in a direct line. It leaks. Into conversations, into attitudes, into interactions that have nothing to do with you on the surface. Suddenly people are arguing over small things. Misunderstandings escalate faster than they should. Words carry more weight than they're meant to. And if you're watching closely, it feels off. Because the intensity doesn't match the situation. That's because the real issue isn't being addressed. It's being displaced. They're not actually fighting about what they say they're fighting about. They're releasing pressure. Projecting frustration. Trying to regain control in spaces where they feel like they still can. And other people become convenient targets because they're involved. They're present, they react. Unlike you, you don't give them anything to work with. No reaction, no emotional opening, no direct conflict they can latch onto. And that absence, it forces the tension to look for another outlet. So it turns sideways. One person snaps at another. Another responds defensively. Then it builds. Back and forth, louder, sharper, more personal. And now it's not even about you anymore. At least not on the surface. But underneath it all, you're still the root. The silent trigger. And they don't even realize it fully. They think the problem is each other. They think the disagreement is real. That the frustration is justified. That the anger belongs exactly where they're placing it. But it doesn't. It's misplaced. Misguided. A reaction to something deeper they haven't faced. And the more it plays out, the more complicated it gets. Because now emotions are involved. Words are said that can't be taken back. Lines get crossed. People start taking sides. And what could have been a quiet moment of self-reflection turns into a full, blown conflict between people who were never the real problem. All because facing the truth felt harder than avoiding it.
And you're still outside of it.
Not pulled in. Not affected in the same way. Watching it unfold like a chain reaction that started with you, but doesn't belong to you. And that distance, that separation, it makes it even more frustrating for them. Because they can't pull you into the chaos. They can't make you react the way others do. They can't turn it into a direct battle where they can at least feel like they're confronting the source. Instead, they're stuck fighting reflections of their own frustration in people around them. And every time it happens, it drains them more. Because deep down, something doesn't feel right. The arguments don't fully satisfy that pressure. The reactions don't bring relief. It's like trying to scratch an itch in the wrong place. Temporary distraction. No real solution. But they keep going. Because stopping would mean thinking. And thinking would lead them right back to where all of this started, right back to you. You think silence is weakness. You think just standing there, not reacting, not proving anything, is giving them an advantage. But that's the thing. They don't understand what power really looks like. They've been conditioned to believe chaos is control, volume is authority, and aggression is strength. But you're something else. You're calm. You're steady. You're untouchable in ways they can't even name. And that's why it gets under their skin. Because your silence isn't empty. It's a mirror. A reflection they can't avoid. Every quiet step you take, every measured word you speak, every action you complete without screaming for attention, it exposes their flaws, their shortcuts, their weaknesses, their need to exaggerate, to perform, to compete when none of it is necessary. You don't react, and that makes them react. Their noise, their anger, their frustration, it all rises just to fill the space that your composure creates. You see, silence is a statement they can't argue with. It doesn't bow to ego. It doesn't cater to insecurity. It doesn't shift to make someone feel like they're winning. It simply exists unbothered, unshakable, immune to the chaos they try to throw at you. And that's terrifying for someone who relies on reaction to validate themselves. Because when they lash out, they expect a response. They want you to engage. They want you to justify, to defend, to explain. And when you don't, it unsettles them. It's like pulling the rug from under a tightrope walker. Their balance collapses, and suddenly everything becomes unstable. They thrash, they shout, they claw at the walls of their own insecurity. But their target isn't you, not really. It's the discomfort they feel when your calm exposes the storm they've built inside. Every insult they throw, every passive-aggressive comment, every attempt to belittle, manipulate, or provoke you, it fails because you don't feed it. And failure is something weak egos can't stand.